gather round people, I'll tell you a story, an 8-year-long story of power and pride. British Lord Vestey and Vincent Lingiari were opposite men on opposite sides. Vestey was fat with money and muscle. Beef was his business, broad was his door. Vincent was lean and spoke very little. He had no bank balance, hard dirt was his floor. From little things, big things grow. From little things, big things grow. The Ringy were working for nothing but rations, but once they had gathered the wealth of the land, daily the pressure got tighter and tighter. The Ringy decided they must make a stand. They picked up their swags and started off walking at Waddy Creek. They sat themselves down. Now it don't sound like much, but it sure got tongues talking back at the homestead and then in the town. From little things, big things grow. From little things, big things grow. Well, Vestey man said, I'll double your wages, 18 quid a week, you'll have in your hand. Vincent said, we're not talking about wages. We're sitting right here till we get our land. Vestey man roared, Vestey man thundered, you don't stand a chance of a cinder and snow. Vince said, if we fall, others are rising. From little things, big things grow. From little things, big things grow. Then Vincent Lingiari boarded an airplane and landed in Sydney, big city of lights. And daily he went round softly speaking his story to all kinds of men from all walks of life. And Vincent sat down with big politicians. This affair, they told him, it's a matter of state. Let us sort it out while your people are hungry. Vincent said, no thanks, we know how to wait. From little things, big things grow. From little things, big things grow. Then Vincent Lingiari returned in an airplane back to his country once more to sit down. And he told his people, let the stars keep on turning. We have friends in the South, in the cities and towns. Eight years went by, 8 long years of waiting, till one day a tall stranger appeared in the land. And he came with lawyers, and he came with great ceremony, and through Vincent's fingers poured a handful of sand. From little things, big things grow. From little things, big things grow. Well, that was the story of Vincent Lingiari. But this is the story of something much more. How power and privilege can unmove a people who know where they stand in the law. From little things, big things grow. 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 From little things, big things grow.
From little things, big things grow. From little things, big things grow.
Gather round, people, I'll tell you a story, an 8-year-long story of power and pride. British Lord Vestey and Vincent Lingiari were opposite men on opposite sides. Vestey was fat with money and muscle. Beef was his business, broad was his door. Vincent was lean and spoke very little. He had no bank balance, hard dirt was his floor. From little things, big things grow. From little things, big things grow. The Rings you were working for nothing but rations. But once they had gathered the wealth of the land, daily the pressure got tighter and tighter. Garinja decided they must make a stand. They picked up their swags and started off walking at Waddy Creek. They sat themselves down. Now it don't sound like much, but it sure got tongues talking. Back at the homestead, and then in the town. From little things, big things grow. From little things, big things grow. Vestey man said, I'll double your wages, 18 quid a week, you'll have in your hand. Vincent said, we're not talking about wages. We're sitting right here till we get our land. Vestey man roared, Vestey man thundered. You don't stand a chance of a cinder and snow. Vince said, if we fall, others are rising. From little things, big things grow. From little things, big things grow. Then Vincent Lingiari boarded an airplane and landed in Sydney.
Hello everybody and welcome to our very special service for Roy. Before we commence, can I ask that you make sure your mobile phones are switched off or turned to silent if you haven't done so already. That'll be greatly appreciated. And family and friends, as you are all aware, a good man and a good friend to many has been lost to us. And so we're here today to honour, to remember, and also celebrate the life of Roy Douglas Warrington. And we're here today because Roy is now at peace and he is resting. My name is Andrew Reimer, and I thank you for your presence here today as we commemorate with sorrow, but also respect, joy, and thankfulness for the life of Roy. Our thoughts are with absent family and friends unable to be with us in person today, but we know they are with us in spirit, and we welcome those watching via live streaming. And thank you also for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us today. It is my hope today that we will be granted the coping and healing gifts of strength, courage, and wisdom. The strength to endure the pain of a loss so great, the courage to speak openly about that loss, and the wisdom to give thanks. Thanks for a life that has touched and filled our lives. We know and accept as best we can the fact that death must and will come inevitably to each and every one of us. This knowledge, however, does not detract from the great range of emotions which we may experience. There can be anger, for it is not easy to give up somebody that we love. There can be frustrating fantasy, if only this, or if only that. There may also be guilt as we punish ourselves for things left unsaid, deeds not done, promises made but not followed through. These emotions can feel quite profound, to say the least. And as painful as they may be, do not deny them. Accept them. Try to understand them, for they contain secrets to life's meaning. We shall never fill the place which has now been vacated, at least not in the flesh. Against such a void, we can only exert courage and have faith in the knowledge that time does heal and memories do soften the wounds of a great loss. We should also gain comfort that in the spirit, that place will never be empty because of the love you shared with Roy and the love he shared with you. And today I ask that the faiths and philosophies which sustain you separately meld into a unity where differences may be allowed to dissolve, so we can truly honour Roy, who passed away on April the 12th at the age of 57. Roy Douglas Warrington was born on February the 13th, 1966, at what was the Queen Victoria Hospital, Fullerton Road, Rose Park. Roy was the second child of Jennifer May, now Jennifer Wardrop, and sister Wendy came along into the world afterwards in 1973. Roy attended Edwardstown Primary School between 1971 to 1977, prior to going on to Vermont High School between 1978 to 1981, leaving after finishing Year 11 to begin his working life at a supermarket. Roy started an electrical apprenticeship in 2002 and went on to run his own solar electrical business, Roy All Electrical. In 2018, he started working as a project manager with AG Earl, working on the VPP, the Virtual Power Plant project. On November 14th, 1987, Roy married Anne Simpson, and just over a year later, on December the 13th, Matthew James was born. It was on Easter Saturday, 1966, that Charlene and Roy would meet on a blind date at a dinner party hosted by friends Carol and Cameron Teely at their home. The night was a great success, and Roy and Charlene were married on Valentine's Day in 1999 at 10 a.m. on the balcony of the Semaphore Palais with a lunchtime reception afterwards. Their daughter, Paige Catherine, was born on August the 30th, 2004. Besides his love of his wife and children, Roy had many other loves. Roy had a love of anything vintage and nostalgic, which led to him restoring old bicycles, which in turn led to him becoming a member of the South Australian Vintage Bicycles, 1880 to 1980, which also involved the running of the Bullocks catch-ups held at Victoria Park. Burlesque and cabaret shows were also a great love. Roy regularly attended gyms and fitness clubs and loved anything Asian, including food, bonsais, Studio Ghibli, beer, and also craft breweries. Roy had a strong fascination for anything Japanese, though he never travelled to Japan, which led him to taking up karate and going through the various ranks before in 1997 grading as a black belt while nursing some broken ribs. Roy then was sensei of his own dojo for primary students between 1998 and 2000. In 2013, Roy purchased a Jayco Finch camper trailer and his first bike, and so began his love of camping and cycling. Some of the cycling clubs that Roy rode with included Mishmash, Salisbury Cycling, My Ride Salisbury Cycling, who he continued to ride with until the beginning of 2022, Gully Grinders, Gawler Wheelers, and Roy also participated in many cycling events, including Amy's Ride 2014 to 2016, the Tour Down Under Challenge Tour 2015 to 2020, Coast to Coast 2015 and 2016, Cadell Evans Great Ocean Road 2017, Ride for Pain 2016, and Cancer Voices Challenge Ride 2016. In June 2021, Roy was diagnosed with GBM, glioblastoma, multiform cancer 4, grade 4 cancer. But rather than just accept his fate, Roy fought with great courage while also taking part in fundraising activities and doing all he could to raise community awareness of brain cancer. And each and every one of you here today and those watching via live stream know there's much to be said about the life of Roy, and rightly so. And I'd like to ask a good friend of his, they've been friends since their 20s, Martin Heysen, to come forward, please. Martin.
Thank you, Andrew. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Martin, and there is no greater honour than being asked by Charlene to share a few words about our friend Roy today. I first met Roy almost 35 years ago when we worked together at the Brickworks Market in Torrensville, where he taught me to become a shoe repairer. And like all of us, I'm devastated that we've lost Roy way too soon. But as we all know, we are all so much better for knowing Roy, and we will always honour him by cherishing those individual memories that we have. Roy loved his family, he loved his friends. He enjoyed the great outdoors and had an almost legendary dry sense of humour. He loved hiking, biking, paddleboarding and craft beer, hopefully not all at the same time. And as many have shared with me over recent days, he always looked forward to regular holidays with his family and friends every Easter and Christmas. And when I described Roy, when I was chatting with some of his friends over the last few weeks, I described Roy as being a little bit quirky, or a lot quirky. Everyone laughed and everyone wholeheartedly agreed. Ian Scarf, a longtime friend of Roy and Charlene, now living in Europe, sends his love and condolences. And Ian, who is famous for, let's say, being more than a little picky about things, including the level of service that he receives in restaurants and cafes, was often taken to task by Roy, who would say, "Ian, which cafe have you been banned from this week? Can we for once have a peaceful breakfast together without you causing trouble or running into one of your many ex-girlfriends?" Roy didn't beat around the bush. He would get away with saying many things, often many of the things that we would all think but not have the front to say. But Roy would always get away with it, and he'd do it with a grin on his face. Ian said that he will miss Roy's dry sense of humour, his cheeky grin, his amazing abilities in the kitchen, and his dexterity high up on the roof, where Roy often worked. Ian is now being chased around Europe by disgruntled restaurant owners and even more disgruntled ex-girlfriends. But I would imagine that Roy is now somewhere upstairs, watching from above, shaking his head. Davin Kelly shared with me Roy's enthusiasm for regular holidays that Roy and Charlene took with the Kellys, the Gammos, the Hines and the Prescotts. Holidays that often included craft breweries, wineries, hiking, crabbing, and the ever dapper Roy entertaining everybody on his unicycle. Now, who thinks to take a unicycle on their holidays? Who even owns a unicycle, let alone could ride one? Well, few of us are surprised that Roy did and Roy can. Roy loved his 1950s Rolls Rapid bike, which is just right here in front of us today. This one thankfully has 2 wheels. And Davin fondly remembers restoring it with Roy. Roy treasured a vintage-style cycling jersey which was located in New Zealand by Davin and Alyssa, and Roy is taking this jersey with him to his final resting place today. Susan and Stephen Gammo live close by to Roy and Charlene, and remember Roy as caring, considerate, witty, and mildly obsessed with Mitchell's Pepper Tree Shiraz. Susan described Roy as a gentleman who often went out of his way to support others and is one of the very few people in this world who eats chicken wings with a knife and fork. Susan recalls the time that everyone promised they'd pick Roy up after he'd ridden the coast-to-coast bike ride from Glenelg to Victor Harbour, and in particular how understanding Roy was when everybody turned up seriously late after getting stuck in a local winery for way too long. Susan said that she'll miss the traditional Christmas get-togethers and will make sure the tradition continues, where everybody will toast Roy's loving memory. Almost everyone that I spoke to remembers Roy's numerous adventures climbing St Mary's Peak in the Flinders Ranges. These adventures took on a Mount Everest-type significance for Roy. I once climbed it with him, as I know many others have too. However, not everyone would know the story about one of these trips when Roy took it upon himself to climb the mighty mountain in the middle of the night. He woke before sunrise to take the trail to the top, where he lost his way and had to turn back. However, on the way down, he lost the trail markers, fell off a steep track and crashed through a large tree before landing in a ravine where he came to after falling many metres. Roy eventually arrived at home to Charlene with bits of tree in his socks, in his undies, in his ears, up his nose, lucky to have survived, but again with that wonderful wry grin on his face. Roy was a regular Bear Grylls. Stephen Simmons recalls the camping trips where Roy was often assigned to cooking duties. Nothing too fancy, just baked beans or stew. When Stephen asked Roy about the tasty, crunchy bits in the meal, Roy said that he'd added some natural flavours. Dirt. Stephen also remembers numerous mountain biking trips where Roy spent as much time on the bike as he spent falling off the bike, often in spectacular style. Stories of getting bogged, cars ending upside down, and so much more. I'm beginning to think that Roy may have missed his calling. He could have been a stuntman. When diagnosed several years ago, Roy has since been surrounded by many people who love him dearly, and none more so than Charlene, Matthew and Paige. So many people have helped Roy in his final years, such as Roy's mum Jenny, Peter and his sister Wendy, Charlene's mum Anne, her dad Peter and stepfather Lynn, as well as Damien, Tamara and Bryce, have each played a big part in supporting Roy, Charlene and the family, and I know many others have too. I will always remember Roy as loyal, honest, decent, funny and 100% genuine. He taught me how to mend shoes at the Brickworks, helped me set up my first YouthWorks store in 1993 in Regent Arcade, and he was a very valued and respected member of the big YouthWorks family, but most importantly, a great mate. I'm deeply proud of Roy. He's raised 2 magnificent children. He's loved by his family and loved by his friends. He became a very accomplished electrician, and Roy and Charlene are a great team. He loved his traditional Japanese garden at home and took pride in making and maintaining so many things. Roy was a magnificent man. He took a genuine interest in others, and he was the real deal. I'm deeply honoured to be your friend, and I miss him dearly. I was with Roy and Charlene at their wonderful wedding in 1999, and we're here today to celebrate a wonderful life. As we say goodbye today, we are left with a sense of sadness and loss. We will miss Roy's kindness and his quirky sense of humour, but we take comfort in knowing that his memory will live on in countless lives that he positively touched, in the stories and the memories that Roy left behind and the love and friendships that he created. I would now like to read Charlene's letter to Roy. A love letter to my darling Roy. We dreamt of growing old together and living in the city, to do all the things we love to do. Now it's a pity. We wanted to dine at our favourite restaurants, experience places that were new, where we could share a bottle of wine, maybe a cocktail or two, attend theatres, museums and galleries, watch burlesque and cabaret shows. As you are no longer here with me, I will cherish those memories of not so long ago. Dancing in our lounge room, sitting by the fire, smoked cheese and pâté is what we would desire. Mitchell's Pepper Tree Shiraz on romantic getaways. I love to see the laughter and the smiles upon your face. My broken heart will not mend until we meet again. Meeting you was such good luck. From me to you, your loving Chuck. Beautiful. To Matthew and Paige, you've lost a great dad, but you are both strong. Treasure the memories, as I know you will. To Charlene, you've been Roy's rock. Your loving, caring, supportive nature, it's now our time to support you. To Roy, travel well, my friend. I had originally called this eulogy Roy's Last Ride, and in a nod to all his things and love for cycling, I thought that was appropriate. However, that sounds too final for me. I hope to see you again, Roy, one day, my friend. So it's not goodbye, it's simply safe cycling for now. We love you, we miss you.
And thank you very much, Martin, for those wonderful words and sharing those memories and stories on behalf of the others as well who couldn't be here today. And Charlene, also thank you for sharing your letter to Roy with us here today as well. I'd now like to ask daughter Paige to come forward, please, and share with us some memories and stories too.
I had decided I would come up and read a poem from Nan Whitcomb's The Thoughts of Nanushka, but I couldn't decide between two, so I'm going to read them both. Tonight the lights along the bay are bravely trying to shine through the autumn dusk. I cannot tell if it is the rain beating against the glass, which blurs the view, or my own tears for the end of our beautiful summer, and the frightening thought of learning to live without you. We painted the sunrise and made us a day. We sang us a summer from June until May. We coloured each moment with laughter and warmth and wrote us a sunset that lasted till dawn. But dreams and schemes and holidays must always have an end, so thanks for the ride on the rainbow, my friend. You may have noticed a theme within the poems which I chose, and this is the reason why. The day my dad's battle with brain cancer came to an end, it didn't just rain, it poured. The sky was covered in grey clouds, and the creek he built in our back garden was filled with water. My brother Matthew said the heavens were crying for him. As the day passed, the clouds moved away, the sky became more blue, and the rain began to subside. The sun revealed itself, and with that, a rainbow appeared with its arc right above our home. Some people may see this as an optical phenomenon, where the refraction of the sun's light through water droplets results in a spectrum of light appearing in the sky. However, because I'm a sucker for signs from the universe, I took this as the universe letting us know that my dad was going to be just fine, and that he would not want us to be sad. So rather than reminiscing on my favourite things that I will miss, I will share what I look forward to seeing when I get to be with you again, Dad. I will look forward to seeing you rub your index and middle fingers together when you concentrate, and the rough noise it will make from your coarse working man's hands. I look forward to seeing you bop your head along to the songs on the radio and tapping your fingers on the steering wheel along to the beat. I will look forward to seeing you, banana in hand, as you come to pick me up at the end of the day so that you will have a snack for the ride home. There are many things that I will anticipate until we meet again that one fateful day, but until then, I will remember this. Your soul has found everlasting peace, and the beautiful memory of you being here on earth will live on in the hearts of those who loved you. Now, to reminisce on some more memories of our wonderful dad is my older brother Matthew. We were going to force Matt to read this speech and then a poem, but as you know, he's not exactly enthused by the thought of public speaking. One of the very small number of speeches Matthew did do was at Mum and Dad's wedding as their best man. So as you can imagine, was a very long time ago. So I'm just going to preface why this poem is being read myself. Many of you may know Dad's strange enjoyment of watching 9 p.m. reruns of detective crime shows, one of those being NCIS. What we didn't realise is that in one of these episodes, they had the inaugural Death of a Minimal Side Character episode, where a poem was read out. Dad didn't speak very much about what his funeral would look like because, in his words, he wouldn't be here. However, the poem Matthew is about to read is a poem that we were directed to include in the service after Dad watched Vance from NCIS deliver a speech for Emily Fornell's death.
When I die, give what's left of me away. Oh, good start. To children and old men ready to die. And if you need to try for your brothers or sister who walked the streets beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give to me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in people I know or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not your mind. You can love me most by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die. People do. So when that's all left of me is love, give me away.
Thank you very much, Matthew and Paige, for not only saying those words, but finding the strength to be able to do so. It would have been incredibly difficult, there's no doubt about that, and everybody here and those watching respect you greatly for what you've done today, and I know Dad would have been very proud of you as well. There'll be an opportunity for each and every one of you also to share more stories, memories of Roy with one another. There's going to be a wake to be held at the Village Tavern between 4:30 this afternoon and 7:30. And I know Charlene and the family would love to see as many of you there as possible to raise a glass in Roy's honour and, as I say, share more of those stories and memories as well. And I know each and every one of you who are here today will have your own very special memories of Roy, and some will be of times that you alone shared. Others will be of times that you shared as a group at those family gatherings, the birthdays, the Christmases. You'll all have your own memories of laughter, of tears of joy and of sorrow, all of which you would have experienced as you travelled life's highways together with Roy. I'd like to ask you now to reflect back upon some of those memories of your own, while we also take an opportunity to have a look at some photographs specially chosen for today to showcase Roy's life.
It must have been cold there in my shadow to never have sunlight on your face. You were content to let me shine, that's your way. You always walked a step behind. So I was the one with all the glory, while you were the one with all the strength. A beautiful face without a name.
but she moves like lightning. And she counts to 3. And she turns out all the lights and says she's coming for me. Now put your hands up, this is a heist. And there's no one in here living gonna make it out alive. Load it up when the sun comes down. Getaway car for 2 young lovers. Me and the girl straight out of town. Over the hills and undercover, undercover, undercover. She said, green, green grass, blue, blue sky. You better throw a party on the day that I die. Green, green grass, blue, blue sky. You better throw a party on the day that I die. We go together, Adam and Eve. But the girl is so much more than just another apple thief. Yeah, she's a genius. Watch and learn. How she sets the world on fire just to watch the sucker burn. Load it up when the sun comes down. Getaway car for 2 young lovers. Me and the girl straight out of town. Over the hills and undercover, undercover, undercover. She said, green, green grass, blue, blue sky. You better throw a party on the day that I die. Green, green grass, blue, blue sky. You better throw a party on the day that I die. Throw a party, throw a party, yeah. Throw a party on the day that I die. Throw a party, babe. Throw a party on the day that I die. Load it up when the sun comes down. Getaway car for 2 young lovers. Me and the girl straight out of town. Over the hills and undercover, undercover, undercover. She said, green, green grass, blue, blue sky. You better throw a party on the day that I die. Green, green grass, blue, blue sky. You better throw a party on the day that I die. Green, green grass, blue, blue sky. You better throw a party on the day that I die. Green, green grass, blue, blue sky. Green, green grass, blue, blue sky. You better throw a party on the day that I die. Green, green grass, blue, blue sky. You better throw a party on the day that I die.
Lots of lovely photographs and lots of wonderful memories as well. Going to have an opportunity now to have our own time of reflection while Charlene's cousin Brooke and her uncle Peter perform for us a lovely song, Good Night, Sweetheart, Good Night. Thank you very much, Brooke and Peter. Would you like to take your seats again, please? Thank you. Family and friends, we have gathered today to commit Roy Douglas Warrington to rest. We've gathered to comfort each other in our grief and to honour the life that Roy led. A life that was filled with hope, laughter and love through the good times and the hard times. And the time has now come for us to say farewell, and if you're able, I ask that you please be upstanding. Thank you. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose on earth, a time to be born, and a time to die. Here in this last act, in sorrow but without fear, in love and appreciation, we commit Roy to his natural end. We rejoice that he lived. You took delight in his friendship. You treasure that you shared in his life. You cherish your memories of him. With love, we leave him in peace. With respect, we bid him farewell. Please be seated. Thank you. Before we leave here today, I'd like to share with you some reflective words in honour of Roy, in the hope that these words would not only resonate and give comfort to all of us here today and those watching, but they'd also resonate with Roy himself. And his title is One at Rest. Think of me as one at rest. For me, you should not weep. I have no pain, no troubled thoughts, for I am just asleep. The living, thinking me that was is now forever still, and life goes on without me as time forever will. If your heart is heavy now because I've gone away, dwell not long upon it, friend, for none of us can stay. For those of you who liked me, I sincerely thank you all. And for those of you who love me, I thank you most of all. And in my fleeting lifespan, as time went rushing by, I found some time to hesitate, to love, to laugh, to cry. It matters not now if time began, if time will ever cease. I was here. I used it all. And now I am at peace. Having committed Roy's spirit to eternal rest and blessed Roy with joy and comfort, we now say to Roy, thank you for all you've gifted to us throughout your loving life. What good you have shown us, we will show to others. We release you now to the next part of your spiritual journey, all those who've gone before you, lighting your way. In just a moment, you'll be asked to be upstanding, and commencing with Charlene, Paige and Matthew, you'll be asked to come forward to take up a tribute, a special tribute of an origami crane, a symbol of hope and love, but also the logo for brain cancer, to place upon Roy's coffin with the intention that by laying this tribute closest to him, his spirit will be surrounded forevermore with all the love, happiness and wonder which he has shared with you all. And once you've laid that tribute, if you'd like to make your way through these doors to your right and out into the courtyard area, and just a reminder too about that opportunity to raise a glass in Roy's honour at the Village Tavern this afternoon between 4:30 and 7:30. Charlene and the family would love to see as many of you there as possible. May we never forget Roy's friendly, kind ways, nor his passions and concerns, and may you find comfort and support in your love for one another, and may you find peace in your hearts. If I could ask you now to please be upstanding, if Ryan from Country Road Funerals can come forward, please, to hand out those tributes. And ladies and gentlemen, as you make your way, could you do so around the coffin in a clockwise direction before coming out to the courtyard area. Thank you again for your attendance. Such a good time.